I think the dynamic on super teams is really difficult.
I just couldn't get them on the same page. They didn't like each other.
We collectively changed the way basketball is played.
It was like Miami was a bubble. It's like your dreams coming true.
Russ, Katie, and Serge, they're all bloody friggin'. And they'll all go at it, bro.
Losing in the finals and then me signing there. It was just so much noise around our team.
Why did you sort of choose to go to the Lakers that year?
The ring chase.
Thank you for admitting it, though, Gary.
That bothers me that we couldn't figure it out because I know we had more than enough talent.
Our egos, mental toughness, everything you really need to be a championship team, we lacked.
Was that really the first time that you sort of experienced some maybe friction?
Friction? I thought I was going to get killed.
Some of the hate came because of we were three black guys and we changed the way that the NBA probably would ever be.
This is a question I have for you because I think that Clippers team in some respects, I was looking the other day, there was one year where we had 3 All-NBA guys. We were probably a super team. Like DeAndre, max contract, and All-NBA, Blake max contract, All-NBA, CP max contract, All-NBA. And I think the dynamic on super teams is really difficult. And you've done it now twice.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you just about the inherent challenges that exist on playing on a super team. Not just the ego, because the ego is one thing. But roster building, figuring out who's going to have the highest usage rate. I mean, shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, we had Golden State. You want to count Klay, like 3 guys that can create their own shots. When you got 3 guys that can do that, then you can pretty much pair them with anyone. On your team, you had 2 guys that had to be force-fed baskets. So the other guys might be thrown off a rhythm sometime trying to get lobs or throw post-ups. Whereas we can create nothing out of something pretty quickly, So that played a factor into it. And when it comes to egos, we all were on the same page and just really wanting to win. I know it sounds simple, but like that's really what it was. Like every day is about, all right, how can we win this basketball game? Nothing else mattered. And when I got to Golden State, from the first to the last guy thought that, but like from the owner to like the ball boy, they thought about that shit too. You know what I'm saying? It's just like in June, like everything was like in June, like at the parade, like it was just always, we was always talking about that, so that shit matters too. Just that dialogue around the team, just that thought process of everybody. How you approaching every day has to be championship level mentality from the first to the last guy. Owner to the ball boy, everybody got me thinking about it, and it was like that.
And could you tell that from the jump?
Yeah. Like when you lose like that in the finals, everybody came back hungry. Everybody wanted to just redeem themselves. It was just it's a rare feeling to have in the league.
Like the initial meeting, you sense it there.
Oh yeah.
When they're there, right? I mean, so that alone is like
we knew how
business.
We knew we knew how big that summer was with losing the league, losing in the finals, and then me signing there. There was just so much noise around our team to start that season. We really locked in as a group.
Now these super teams, they do seem to flame out, like kind of infamously. Almost everyone we could think of, we can name, even your guys' teams. Do you think that tension and that pressure of just you have to win a title or you fail? You think it's that? You think it's combination?
I think more so the business gets in the way more so than anything.
Yeah.
We want to stay together as long as possible.
Yeah.
But one guy might get paid for it. Yeah. One guy, Sean Livingston retired, or I left in free agency, so stuff like that happens more so than.
I think you're right though. I think there is a cycle to it. And when you have, as I mentioned, when you have guys, the talent to win a championship, you have an obligation to go for it. And by going for it, you're sacrificing some future. Mm-hmm. You're trading your first round pick at the deadline nearly every fucking year to go get something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We did that every year with the Clippers.
Yeah.
We did that every year. And, like I said this a bunch prior to the trade for James. I said, Philly to me is dumb to not do something with Ben because you have a window in the East, you have an MVP candidate in Joe, he's got an injury history. Like, you have an obligation to go for it this year. Now, I didn't know they were going to get James, obviously, but like get 2 high-level players.
Yeah.
Get a pick back, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But like you got to go for it. If you got the talent and that guy's healthy, you got to go for it.
Do you guys feel like that's the best approach? I talk to people about like LeBron. He kind of moves in cycles. It's been 4 years, 4 years. This is year 4 now. And each of the last iterations, it kind of went like this. It's kind of flamed out. But you do kind of owe it to the team, like the Rams, right? Fuck them picks.
Yeah.
Like, we need now.
I feel like when you have a player that's reached elite status in this game where he can just control the game, that's when you should go for it.
You go for broke.
When you got the top 5 player in the league, it's like, all right, I know I have something to lean on at the end of games. Like, let's build around this. I mean, if you got, you see potential in that, then you don't want to, waste all your assets early on on trying to compete for a championship when your best player is still developing. But once he gets to that elite status, then that's when you should go for it.
You've talked a bunch about adjusting to personnel and being adaptive to a X and O philosophy. Those Lakers years, obviously. Steve, Mike Brown, I think got fired 5 games in the season, and you were brought on. But Steve being hurt, and I think he missed the first, maybe 20 games, 17 games, whatever it was.
Actually, at the end, he never came back.
Yeah,
he played a little bit, but he was never right. And the only reason I took the job, JJ, besides I just had my knee replaced and I was under the influence of drugs. But he. For anybody to make it work, I thought Steve could. And that was Steve from Phoenix days. Yeah. And because he got hurt and never could quite come back, never got a chance to make it work. And then, we made the playoffs and all that, but we were never really a threat. And I thought we had a real shot if Steve could have got well.
Without Steve being Steve.
Right.
Because, again, and I went through this late in my career, and I was never even close to the level that Steve was. There's obviously value in a vet, and there's a value in a vet with a cachet, but there's real value with a vet or a star player that's still good, that's still at the top of his game.
Right.
And so without him, was that really... I don't know how it was in Phoenix, but was that really the first time that you sort of experienced some maybe friction with players and philosophy and how you wanted to play versus how they wanted to play?
Friction? I thought I was going to get killed. Yeah, I would say there was some friction.
I'm trying to be gentle here.
You're being very, very gentle, and I appreciate my ego. Appreciates it. I just couldn't get them on the same page. They didn't like each other. It was contentious. We didn't really have the talent. You want to play Steve, but he wasn't up to it. Then he wasn't even there. Kobe was older. He was toward the end, still good, still great, unbelievable, but very, very tough personality. He and Dwight didn't mesh. I mean, just a lot of things, and then tough atmosphere. Just a lot of things just didn't work. But there's always friction as a coach, especially if things aren't going well. Winning cures a lot. Everybody loves everybody on a winning team, but losing, it's something you got to manage and got to get through.
I've always wanted to ask one of you guys, do you guys ever regret, or have you ever talked about doing the victory parade before you guys ever played a game together? When you guys all came out on stage, was that a mistake? In retrospect, was maybe that brought a little bit of that animosity on?
You can look at it, the animosity, totally 100%. But people have to understand, we didn't organize that. If they say, yo, we're signing JJ Redick tomorrow, and it's 20,000 people there, you're not going to be like, nah, let's just, hey, pull the plug. No, we're not doing this. You're not going to do that. We went right along with everything that was going on. And I just found out that the only reason that stage was there is because I forgot who had a concert. Somebody had a concert, was in between concerts. They were doing 3 days or something like that, a 3-day stretch. So the stage was still there. So we got there. They're like, yo, Yeah, but come on, bro. They like, yo, we get there. They're like, yo, look, we got the stage. You guys coming up right here. I'm like, oh my God. It's like your dreams coming true. You know, with that said, we did not empathize or even consider. It was like Miami was a bubble, bro. We didn't think of anything outside. We were just like, stage, hell yeah. Interview, nailed it. I mean, we took, yeah, bro. We, you know, went right. It was just, bro, thing to thing. Parties, legendary. You know what I mean? We're living out of a hotel. You know, it was just crazy, man. It was just a crazy time. And then about 2 days after all that stuff happened, that's when the smoke cleared, and we kind of figured like, oh, they didn't like that. I didn't even think of that stuff.
In retrospect, do you feel like it specifically being the city of Miami that this happened in caused some of this? Because I remember people saying at the time, they were like, this is like the kind of like dumpy girl getting dumped by the prom king for the supermodel. Like no one's rooting 100%. For the supermodel.
That's the classic story, bro. It's the classic story. And I mean, you can, you know, which I'm glad it worked out for Bron and him and the city of Cleveland and Northeastern Ohio, getting that healing through a championship. But yeah, man, it's like, yeah, leaving your prom girl as soon as you get the deal. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm out. Thanks for it all, but I'm about to, and you know, everybody knew it was about to happen. You know, they were, you know, it's the same thing. Like when Katie went to the Warriors, it's like, you know, it's a similar move, but hey, man, you know, it could go so many different ways. And when you're young, you know, I think sometimes that gets a little misconstrued. People kind of expect athletes to automatically just have these life lessons and know things. You shouldn't have done that. Man, I didn't know what was going on. You know, we didn't know people were going to do that. We didn't even consider it, man. I was partying, you know. But, you know, going through that and kind of seeing how your words can be powerful. One, you know, we didn't do any bad actions, but just to consider, you know, people doing that shit. We didn't see ESPN with jerseys burning, you know. We were at Live, we were at Wall, at the club, we were at Mr. Chow, 20 people, dinner, you know what I mean? It's just like things are going so fast you can't even catch up, you know, because it's like this new life. And for me, I was wide eyed. I was like, bring it all, bring it all. I know. I thought I knew, you know. I watched Mike. My naive ass was like, oh yeah, we watched the Bulls. Hell yeah, we know. We watch Kobe and Shaq. We know what's going on. Shit, you know, it was not the case at all. It's a different flavor.
We should note. So you were like 25 or 26 at the time. Bron was 25 at the time.
Yeah.
D was 28 or 29. Like you guys were all in your mid 20s.
Yeah, I was 25, bro.
Yeah, it's so to expect anything less. I mean, if I signed at 25, if I signed a $110 million contract to play with two of the greatest players ever in the city of Miami, yeah, I'm going to live for a week straight. I'm doing everything you guys did. Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
But the course is that, you know, everybody's not going to like that. And, you know, we had to come to terms with, it's like that aha moment, like, oh, this is what you got to go through to win a championship. And so that's like, and then Pat's like, I was telling you, you know what I mean? But it was great. I mean, it was a very humbling experience, especially not being successful that first year. I felt that probably would have been the worst thing for that team, to be successful right out of the gate. I think mature-wise, we wouldn't have been able to bounce back and deal with like the things you have to deal with as a defending champion. You know, I don't think we would have accepted that challenge the way we did.
I want to follow up on that second year, that 2018-2019 team, because there's a lot of speculation about that season, about that locker room. And you just said, I think something to the effect of we couldn't figure out. Why do you think that is? Why could that team never fully gel into what it could have been?
It was a combination of, Kyrie and Gordon coming back. And, they were, obviously we know what Kai's capable of, but, Gordon was coming off an All-Star the year before and was and still is, a very, very good player. But then you have myself and JB and Terry that, naturally we wanted more. We were young and, we knew what we just, accomplished and how close we got. We wanted more. We wanted to be, the guys. And everybody was, I think, a little, resistant of, instead of we're all playing for the same goal. We're all going to get paid. We're all going to be all-stars or whatever. And I think life would just be better if we all if we win a championship. And I think everybody played a part in that. I know I did for sure. As bad as I wanted to win, I wanted to be, all right, we all knew Kyle was the best player, but I wanted to be number 2. And I take responsibility for, some of those things. But just looking back on it, especially, the Warriors not even being full strength in the championship, of you can't help but think that could have been us.
To your defense, as a 20-year-old who just the previous year had the playoff run you had, I think it's human nature to want more at that age, to think you have this amazing runway, this very, very long runway where this championship window is huge. It's massive. I think that's just human nature. And I don't think that's necessarily a fault. I mean, you can certainly look back now and be like, I would have done something different.
For sure.
It's human nature.
Would you say that Russ was the leader of those teams and not Kevin? In terms of their personality, who was the guy that was not to say the alpha, because that's the wrong word, because I think Kevin is an alpha, but just in terms of the spiritual, emotional leader, it was Russ, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Or Nick Collison.
Yeah, I think so. Old Nick, old mate, he's just in the background, just picking up the screen, oh, come on, guys. He's the ambulance, mate. No, he see, when those three, because it was awesome. Then this is just remembering from as a rookie. Russ, Katie, and Serge and Perk, they're all bloody friggin'. That was awesome, right? And they will all go at it, bro. All of them will just constantly you'll call it bickering, but they'll just argue crazy. And it just created that really competitive environment, right? There won't be a practice where it's kind of soft. It's always intense. All of them just trying to just beat the other one, right? Crazy. And so it was, I wouldn't have it wouldn't be fair for me to say who was alpha leader or whatever, but I think what's fair to say is that was a healthy, a healthy team, if that makes sense. It may not, if you were there and you're oh shit, they're arguing crazy. For some people that might not be healthy, but they got to the point right away, right? Which was awesome. And they just constantly made each other better, I thought, And as a rookie, bro, I was all about it. I just came and I had to step up my game and kind of play at that level, or even try and get acknowledged to even be seen. You know what I mean? So I don't know, dude.
Is that environment hard to? Because I know the environment you're describing.
Yeah.
Because I've had it on a couple teams.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to emulate that environment without the right personalities. Because what you're describing to me is leadership, but not everybody leads that way. If that makes sense.
No.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that's the only way to do it. But I do think it's because what you're describing, that's something that I think a lot of us, we crave that, right? And when you're in that environment too, there's accountability.
Yeah.
And we're all better off when we're being held accountable.
Yeah.
But it's hard to create that environment in an sort of an inorganic way. right? Because does that make sense?
No, 100%. No, because again, bro, it really depends on the people that you kind of bring together, the players. Because some players don't respond well, but then they're not up front either. They won't let their guard down. So whenever someone's not, just showing like their emotion, they don't have an opinion on anything, right? And that's like a dead giveaway. You're just like, you don't know that guy. You don't know how he reacts. You don't know what is going to happen. You're just waiting for him some way through the season to absolutely lose his mind. And then you just know, you're like, oh, okay, he's a bit of a couple loose screws in there, eh, mate? But like if you just right off the bat like that, you know what I mean? Everyone knows, you know what I mean? Serge and Russ and KD and Perk, they'll all go at it. But, I mean, that was just normal. But it was good as well. It's like a healthy discussion. Obviously, you would need like an umpire in there. Just, simmer down, mate. That was uncalled for, whatever. Every now and then, but that's okay. But you get to the root of the problem, and then you can start working on solution, right?
Who was the umpire?
A lot of times it was Mark Bryant, the coach. I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
MB.
He coached me my rookie year. He was our player development coach my rookie year.
Oh, for real? Yeah. So his voice, right? His voice is like, it's real weird, but it's like the deep kind of 2 a.m. jazz radio kind of voice. I don't know. It's not that. It's not that. That sounds very like soothing. So yeah, he was more of the umpire. Really cool dude. Everyone liked him. So. Yeah, even me and but that's what was good because like in that environment too, like me and MB would go at it mid game, just in a timeout. I'd just say something and he would tell me something, and then I'd just like snap. No, that's bullshit. Like it doesn't even work. And then he'll come in. You better fucking and then what's good is that you have about 1 minute to solve the problem, and we solve the problem. Sometimes in some of these timeouts, you're left with more questions, which is not a good thing. You need to be really, really quick, right? So
your year with the Lakers, your sort of decision to go there, and obviously you're towards the end of your career now, and they were coming off a three-peat, and then of course the Spurs won in 2003. But that decision to go there and I don't know if it was called this then, but essentially ring chase. What all went into that? Why did you sort of choose to go to the Lakers that year?
The ring chase.
100%. I thank you for admitting it, though, Gary. Thank you for admitting it.
I admit it. Listen, I was at the end of my career, man. I was ready to give it up. Basketball was basically over for me. I wanted to win a ring, but I was listening to the wrong thing. Win a championship. If you don't win a ring, you're not that. You're not this. Man, that's a bunch of bull. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley never won a ring. They still the same people. They still 75 Hall of Famers, great basketball players. We're always gonna be legends. Everything. Who cares about what that ring mean? Whatever they talking about, it might bring you a little bit more of a talk about because you want a ring. That don't mean nothing. I mean, you're still gonna be the same basketball player. You're still gonna be a great. I was going at it at the wrong way, listening to people saying, if you get in the Hall of Fame, you won't get in the Hall of Fame if you don't win a championship. You won't be this if you don't win a championship. Bunch of crap. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we were chasing. And I was just doing that. Me and Karl decided to play with each other. We had been talking about it for like 2 years before that we were going to play with each other. We were getting at that in our career. We didn't think we were going to be with our same teams. He didn't think he was going to be with Utah. I didn't think I was going to be with Seattle. And we decided that wherever we go, and if we get a chance and become free agents, we're going to play with each other. That's the team we picked. You know, you got Shaq calling us, Magic Johnson calling you, Dr. Buzz calling you. Man, well, how can you not? Jerry West calling you. How can you not go there? You know what I'm saying? And we got two young kids who had just won 3 championships in a row. And we got a chance. And you're going to add 2 great basketball players to your mix. And no way we should be able to, nobody should beat us. and that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? We started off 18-2 before Karl got hurt. And then when Karl got hurt, everything went down. Kobe was going through what he was going through. Shaq was battling Dr. Bus. And we still made it to the NBA Finals. And with a lot of players that nobody really knows. You know what I'm saying? We only had Derek Fisher and Rick Fox and guys like that. But we made it. But, it was a ring chase for me and Karl. Me and Karl wanted to get a ring. We could have got it. But, we lost in 5 games to Detroit. It was a team that was rolling at the time, and we weren't.
Did you have moments with that Warriors team? I mean, you sort of just referenced it a little bit, where you've been on so many teams in so many different situations over your career, but just the level of talent is crazy.
Crazy. And because I personally feel like that was our downfall with the Clippers. We had a lot of talent too. Not obviously, maybe not to the tune once they added KD that they had.
The 17 team was different, yeah.
But we just got in our own ways with the Clippers. Our egos, mental toughness, everything you really need to be a championship team, we lacked. When I went to Golden State, it was crazy because they lacked nothing. And on top of that, when you have a Kevin Durant, a Steph Curry, a Klay, a Draymond Green, a Finals MVP, and Andre Iguodala, Steve Kerr, who's won several championships. Like when you have all that shit and there's no egos and there's no agenda and it's just whoever scored, I don't give a fuck. Let's just win. It's just like, damn, it's a beautiful thing to see. And although it was really short lived, I didn't play for him long. It was just a breath of fresh air. Like you really enjoyed going to practice. You enjoyed going on road trips because the guys, like they just got it. So I feel like if I would have been with that team if I would have been with them for a number of years, it would have been amazing. But I got a small piece of it. But on the flip side, like I said, I feel like their strengths off the court were our weaknesses that we needed to win on the court.
Yeah, I feel like we've talked about that ad nauseum. I know I have on different podcast appearances. I know you have as well. I don't necessarily want to get into that. We were looking at that 17 playoff run that the Warriors had after we got done with Draymond yesterday. They were like 16-1. Y'all were 60. It was.
By the time like my ankle felt okay, we were already 9-0. I'm just like me being a veteran. I'm like, you're not gonna fuck a rhythm up no matter who, unless I'm like a Steph or a KD trying to work his way back in. I don't care who you are. You're not gonna crack a rotation when you're in the Western Conference Finals and you're undefeated. You know what I mean? So it's just a kind of having an understanding. But that was a cold fucking team, man. It was unbelievable.
Why do you think the reaction to you guys deciding to join up in Miami was so different? We'll use another example. Let's use Danny Ainge trading for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and forming that big three in Boston, which, by the way, was only like 3 seasons prior to you guys making that decision to join up.
Yeah.
Why do you think the reaction was so different? Do you think it was because it was LeBron and he was sort of the best player in the game and he was supposed to do what Jordan did and not team up with other superstars to win?
I definitely feel that was a big part of it. Like I want to throw it all on Brian, but I definitely feel that, the fan base, basketball fan base had an idea of how LeBron's career was supposed to go. And it was supposed to go like Michael Jordan's career. He's supposed to stay in Cleveland his entire time and win 6 to 7 rings, right? And he had other ideas for his career. And people at the time didn't understand why would he do that, right? They looked at it as a weak move. It's a weak move that he go team up with another all-star and another all-star. So, yes, that was a big part of it. I think at the same time as well, they wasn't used to playing. At that time, it wasn't used to players having control. You know what I mean? Organizations made trades. That's what happened. Free agency before that was not really that sexy like that, and even though it was some guys who, like I think it was Orlando Magic who had an opportunity to do some sexy stuff with Tim Duncan possibly and Grant Hill and T-Mac, like that would have been sexy, but that didn't happen. And it just wasn't something that was really the sexy thing to do. And at that moment when we made a decision as players and kind of put the control in the player's hand and change the dynamics of what people are used to, you always going to get hate. You know, it's like Allen Iverson came in with braids and tattoos and sleeves, and everybody's like, this is not how the best player in the game looks. They look like Michael Jordan. They don't have tattoos. They don't. And that wasn't Allen Iverson. So you get hate when you're the first ones to do it in the way we did it. And so we understand it. You know, eventually we understood it because we kind of opened up this path for players to do it for a period of time, and it became the wave. And I'm glad we did. I'm glad we took the hate. But I seen some real hatred out there, JJ. I'm talking about, I see some ugliness, and I from fans that I didn't know existed. And I come from the inner city of Chicago, and I didn't know some of this ugliness existed in the world. And when we talk about racism, when we talk about the things that people said to us, it was on display night after night.
This is at the arena. This is not just people trolling on social media. You're saying this is at the arena. You're hearing stuff being said.
Yeah, this is at the arenas. This is in our everyday life, right? Of us traveling, going places. I mean, at that time we had to have so much security around us because the hate was real, you know. And people would say some of the things that you would just look at them and say, like, you don't even know me. Like, how you speak of me in this? How can you speak of me in this way? But I will never forget the Cleveland game. The first time we went back to Cleveland, I will never forget being in the locker room. And that was the time where I looked at LeBron and I was like, hey, this guy's he's not normal. He's really not normal. I've always said it, but I really felt it. But the hatred that I heard in the locker room, I've never heard hate before. You know what I mean? Like, you can hear someone say something, but if you ever heard the sound of hate, it is the most like uncomfortable thing to experience. And like, I remember walking out of the tunnel, and it wasn't just boos, and it wasn't just I hate yous. It was the look on people's faces. It was the things that was coming out of their mouths and like how raged they were, like in anger, that I said, I will never forget this moment a day in my life about, you know, how someone can really hate you for making a basketball decision that you felt was best for yourself and your family. Is crazy to me.
I'm not going to plug myself here, but
please plug yourself.
I went on Taylor Rook's show on Bleacher Report. She did a whole series on race in America. For some reason, she asked me to come on the show. And one of the things that I said on the show, and one of the things that I said on my podcast with Yahoo back in 2016, when Kevin Durant made his decision, is that the reaction to LeBron leaving and Kevin leaving is because there is a group of sports fans that are and will always be uncomfortable with powerful black men making decisions for themselves, taking empowerment and taking control of their careers. Now, of course, the blogs or whatever said that I said that it was racist. I'm not going to go that far, but what I will say is I will stand by those words. I think, of course, an element of Kevin getting backlash was because he went and joined the team that just beat him in the conference finals. Of course, part of the backlash with LeBron was because he wasn't following the same route as Jordan, and that's supposed to be the definition of greatness. But the other component to that is what I just said, and I firmly believe that.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head. And if you think about it, no one gives backlash to any championships that Larry Bird won, that Magic Johnson won, that Michael Jordan won. Michael Jordan played with other Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Like, guys, you don't win championships without playing with other guys that are great, first of all. But it wasn't done in the way that LeBron did it and the way that we did it. It was done from organizations. The organizations made sure that Larry Bird had McHale, Robert Parrish, Dennis Johnson. You know what I mean? Like all these Hall of Famers. And it was, so it was different. And I agree with you, man. And I didn't say that. I'm glad you said that. But we felt that way. We knew that some of the hate was because of our skin color, because of being black men and deciding to control the fate of our careers. Because organizations will do it quickly. They will trade a Dwyane Wade in a heartbeat if you're not accomplishing what they want you to accomplish. So when we had the power, when we had the moment, we took it. But some of the hate came because of we were three black guys who decided. And we changed the way that the NBA probably would ever be, right? Because of that decision. So I agree with you, man, 100%.
Dre, before we let you go, so I've wondered if you've ever thought about this. And obviously with the draft, you could have ended up anywhere. Summer of 15, I don't know if they actually ever offered anything. I know the Pistons were preparing to offer you a sizable contract. Do you ever think about what your career would look like had you not been on the Warriors with Steph and Klay?
So I had heard the Pistons were going to offer me a sizable contract, and I also talked to Danny Ainge and the Celtics when free agency started. So we kind of had that small little window of the Warriors, like the highest we were going is 70, and I'm like, well, I'm going to go talk to someone else, and then it reported that Draymond and Warriors had cut talks off. And right after that, I talked to Danny Ainge and the Warriors called right back. Like, all right, that's it. Good. Could I imagine my career anywhere else? Yes, but it wouldn't be what it is. You know, everybody always say, oh, man, like Draymond can't play with Steph, or Draymond can't play without Steph, or he can't play without Klay. And the reality is, it's like I've gotten accustomed to playing with Steph and with Klay and with Kevin when Kevin was here. But the player that I am today, I was a totally different player before I got accustomed to playing with them. And so the reality is my game would have just been totally different. Would I have had the same success that I've had? I can't say yes, I can't say no, but what I will tell you is I don't think so. Because the reality is we won. And like that's the ultimate success you can reach. And when you win, the accolades pour in. You know, so when you win, you get All-Stars. When you win, you get All-NBA nods. When you win, you get DPOY nods. If I was on a team that wasn't winning, then I wouldn't have all of those accolades. And so, no, I don't think the Draymond you know today would be the Draymond you know if I was on, say, the Pistons or someone else, because you're not winning. But the way we won and the way it all clicked and meshed together and how we all have skill sets that complement each other, it was like it's a match made in heaven. I talk to my fiance all the time about, and she always said, like, yeah, but you and Steph are just a match made in heaven. And, you know, you and Klay, y'all just are a match made in heaven. And I truly believe that. I think I've said it before publicly, but if I haven't, I'll say it now. I don't think I would be the same. But I also don't think Klay and Steph would be the same. Like, now that doesn't mean they don't reach greatness and they don't become the greatest shooters of all time. That doesn't mean that. I just don't think it would be, it would have happened the way it's happened today, which all three of us has become who we become today through dominance. Like that's how we all have become where we are.
I'm not just saying this because you're sitting across the table from me. I completely agree with you on that. And I think the NBA is so much about fit and how pieces complement each other and how one person's strengths make up for another person's weaknesses and how two people's strengths can make essentially an unstoppable force. Mm-hmm. And so, like, yeah, Steph and Klay, they would have achieved greatness. I'm sure you would have achieved greatness in a different scenario. But because the three of you guys work so well, it's a different level of greatness, which you've all been able to accomplish.
Like if you look at it like this, Jay, I in my heart believe we are one of the greatest trios ever in NBA history. But it's not because the whole trio averaged 20-plus points, right? So you're not going to throw us three up there and be like, oh, those three guys compared to these three guys, and it's just like stats, right? Like, I don't know what the stats will equal out to, but it's not that, right? But yet, I think if you take a step back and you know basketball, you like, yeah, what those three guys were able to accomplish, how we collectively changed the way basketball is played, Like, yeah, that would be one of the greatest trios and one of the greatest trios in NBA history. I truly in my heart believe that. But like I said, it's not just your status quo that if you threw a trio up there and all three of them average 20 points, it's not that.